For thousands of years, one name has echoed through history, sparking our imagination and endless debate: Atlantis. Was it a real, advanced civilization that vanished beneath the waves? A mythical island born from a philosopher's mind? Or something far stranger, a place tied to beings not from this world? The truth is, the mystery of Atlantis is as deep as the ocean it supposedly sank into. The story begins over 2,300 years ago with the Greek philosopher Plato. He's the only ancient source who gives us a detailed account. In his writings, he described Atlantis as a magnificent island empire located beyond the Pillars of Heracles, which we know today as the Strait of Gibraltar. This would place it somewhere in the vast Atlantic Ocean. Plato paints a picture of a paradise, a land rich with gold, silver, and a mysterious metal called orichalcum. The people of Atlantis were said to be brilliant, powerful, and noble. They built incredible cities with concentric rings of land and water, and their technology was far ahead of its time. But, as the story goes, their greatness led to greed and corruption. As a punishment from the gods, the entire island was swallowed by the sea in a single, catastrophic day and night of earthquakes and floods. Plato claimed this happened about 9,000 years before his own time, which puts the destruction of Atlantis around 11,000 years ago. Here's where it gets tricky. Besides Plato, no other ancient writer, not from Egypt, not from Mesopotamia, nowhere, mentions Atlantis. This has led many historians to believe that Plato invented Atlantis as a cautionary tale, a powerful metaphor to warn against the dangers of pride and imperial ambition. But that hasn't stopped generations of explorers and researchers from taking him literally. They've scoured the globe, from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean, and even Antarctica, hoping to find physical proof of this lost world. So, was Atlantis a real place destroyed by a natural disaster? Let's dive into that first. If we strip away the myth and look for real historical parallels, one ancient civilization stands out: the Minoans. Flourishing around 1600 BCE on the islands of Crete and Thera, modern-day Santorini, the Minoans were a sophisticated society. They had magnificent palaces, advanced plumbing, vibrant art, and a powerful navy that dominated the Aegean Sea. Sound familiar? Their society mirrors Plato's description of Atlantis in many ways. Then, disaster struck. The volcano on Thera erupted in one of the most violent explosions in human history. It triggered colossal tsunamis and earthquakes and buried cities under tons of ash. The once mighty Minoan civilization crumbled almost overnight. The similarities to Plato's account are so striking that many scholars believe the memory of this real catastrophe could have been passed down for centuries, eventually inspiring his story of Atlantis. The timeline is off, but the narrative is almost a perfect match. Another compelling theory points to a massive flood in the Black Sea region around 5600 BCE. Geologists found evidence that the Mediterranean Sea breached a natural dam, causing the Black Sea's water level to rise dramatically and submerge vast areas of inhabited coastline. Survivors' tales of a great flood could have evolved over millennia into the legend of a sunken land. More recently, explorers using satellite imagery have focused on the wetlands of southern Spain, near Doñana National Park. They've identified strange geometric shapes submerged in the mud that look eerily like the city Plato described. Some researchers are convinced this is the spot, but so far, there's no definitive archaeological proof. Other theories have pointed to the Azores Islands as the mountaintops of a sunken continent. But modern geology tells us that continents don't just sink overnight. What's clear is that the legend of Atlantis might be a powerful echo of real historical traumas, woven together into an unforgettable tale. But while many searched for a lost human city, others asked a more radical question. What if the people of Atlantis weren't human at all? This brings us to the most mind-bending theory of all, that Atlantis was a colony of extraterrestrial beings. It sounds like science fiction, but this idea gained traction because of one persistent question. how could an ancient civilization possess technology that seems to rival, or even surpass, our own? Plato described an organized metropolis with advanced architecture and a powerful navy. For some, this was just too advanced for its time. Writers in the 20th century began to propose that the Atlanteans were alien visitors who established a base on Earth. They suggest that these beings shared their advanced knowledge with early humans, kickstarting civilizations and helping to build monuments like the pyramids. According to this theory, the incredible achievements of Atlantis weren't the work of humans, but of a superior, non-human intelligence. The sudden disappearance of Atlantis wasn't just a natural disaster, it was the abrupt end of an alien experiment on our planet. While there's zero scientific evidence for this, the idea captures our fascination with the unknown and our desire to believe that we are not alone in the universe. So, what do you think? Was Atlantis a real Bronze Age civilization, a morality tale from Plato, or a forgotten alien outpost? Have you ever heard of a lost city hidden beneath the waves, powered by alien technology? This is the story of Atlantis, a mystery that has fascinated humanity for thousands of years. But what if the truth behind this legend is far stranger than any alien theory? Many believe Atlantis was a real, high-tech civilization. Supporters point to mysterious underwater structures found across the globe, from the Bahamas to Japan. Formations that look like walls, stairs, and even pyramids are hailed as the remains of this ancient empire. Some even claim the Atlanteans harnessed a powerful crystal energy source, allowing them to control the weather and build flying machines. It's a captivating idea, fueling shows like Ancient Aliens and inspiring blockbusters like Aquaman. However, scientists offer a more grounded explanation. They argue these underwater structures are simply natural rock formations, or the misinterpreted ruins of known human settlements. Despite decades of searching, there's no physical evidence, no alien tools, no strange metals, no advanced technology to support the idea of a super-advanced, non-human civilization. Every mystery artifact has been traced back to natural origins or familiar human cultures. So, if there's no proof, why does the idea of an alien Atlantis attract millions? It's the thrill of the unknown, the sense of wonder. The thought that our planet might have hosted visitors from space long before our history began is an exciting escape from the ordinary. But what if the real story isn't about aliens or lost continents? To find the truth, we need to go back to the man who started it all, the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. Many historians believe Plato never intended for his story of Atlantis to be taken literally. He wasn't a historian. He was a teacher who used parables to explore deep ideas about society, power, and morality. In his writings, Plato describes Atlantis as a perfect empire, powerful, wealthy, and organized. But this perfection was corrupted by pride. The Atlanteans grew obsessed with power and conquest, abandoning justice and humility. According to Plato, this arrogance angered the gods, who destroyed their magnificent city in a single day and night. For Plato, Atlantis wasn't a place on a map. It was a warning, a symbol of human arrogance and a reminder that no matter how great a civilization becomes, it will crumble the moment it loses its moral compass. Look around today, and you'll see this pattern repeated throughout history. The rise and fall of great empires, from Rome to the modern day. Growth, pride, corruption, collapse. Atlantis was the original cautionary tale. Interestingly, similar lost land myths exist in cultures all over the world. The Great Flood in the Bible, the Sumerian epic of Gilgamesh, the Hindu tale of Dwarka, they all tell of great civilizations wiped out due to human greed or moral decline. Perhaps Plato wasn't inventing a story but adapting a timeless truth. If Atlantis was just a moral lesson, why are we still so obsessed with finding it? Because we are drawn to mystery. We don't just want to learn from a story. We want to live it, to find it, to prove it's real. So, why does this ancient legend refuse to fade? First, it taps into our psychology. Humans are wired for curiosity. The idea of a forgotten world, more advanced and peaceful than our own, gives us something magical to believe in. It's a dream of human potential, a hope that if we once achieved greatness, maybe we can do it again. Over the centuries, the myth has also been twisted for political gain. Some used it to justify colonialism, while others reimagined it as a peaceful utopia. Pop culture has been the biggest amplifier, turning an ancient parable into a modern blockbuster franchise. Movies, video games, and documentaries have kept the legend alive, always presenting Atlantis as a hidden truth waiting to be discovered. But the most profound reason the story of Atlantis survives is that it speaks to a very real, modern fear, our fear of self-destruction. The legend reminds us that even the most advanced societies can vanish overnight if they become too proud or careless with nature. In a world facing climate change, conflict, and greed, that warning feels more urgent than ever. In the end, Atlantis isn't just a story about a lost island. It's a mirror reflecting our greatest strengths and our deepest flaws. So, after all the research, theories, and debates, what's the real truth behind Atlantis? Was it a myth, an alien base, or a real lost civilization buried under the sea? If we look at the evidence, one thing becomes crystal clear. There is zero scientific proof that a massive continent-sized island ever just sank into the ocean. No ancient maps, no confirmed ruins, no geological data. Nothing supports an event like that. So, scientifically speaking, Plato's Atlantis was not a real, physical place. But hold on, that doesn't mean the story is meaningless. In fact, it might be even more powerful as a symbol. You see, Plato wasn't just telling a cool story. He used Atlantis to show what happens when power, greed, and arrogance take over a society. It was his way of saying, hey, look, even the greatest empires can fall if they lose their sense of justice and balance. That's why historians often call Atlantis the world's first great cautionary tale, a story about human ego destroying human achievement. At the same time, our endless search for Atlantis reveals something beautiful about us: our curiosity. For thousands of years, people have been diving into deep oceans, scanning the Earth with satellites, and studying ancient maps, all in the hopes of finding a city that might not even exist. This relentless desire to know more, to explore the unknown, is what drives humanity forward. Maybe Atlantis was never meant to be found in the sea. Maybe it's a reflection of something deep within us, our greatest dreams and our biggest mistakes. It's a powerful reminder that civilizations rise not just on power and technology, but on wisdom, empathy, and harmony with nature. So, whether you believe Atlantis was real or not doesn't really matter. What matters is the message it leaves behind. Every great civilization that forgets its values eventually meets the same fate. It sinks, just like Atlantis. That's why, even after 2,000 years, Plato's lost island is still alive. Not under the waves, but in our stories, our imagination, and our warnings for the future. Atlantis may not be a place on any map, but it's a lesson we can all learn from today. If you look closely, you'll see history repeating itself. Every great empire grows, rises, dominates, and then falls. Why? Because after reaching the top, humanity often forgets humility. We start believing we're untouchable. We exploit nature, ignore balance, and value greed over growth. And that is exactly what Plato warned us about with Atlantis. Maybe Atlantis never sank. Maybe we are turning into Atlantis right now. Our oceans are rising, cities are flooding, and forests are burning. The same arrogance that destroyed the island of the gods is visible in our modern world. That's why this story still matters so much. Atlantis isn't just about the past, it's about our future. It's a mirror showing us what happens when humanity forgets its limits. It challenges us to learn from the past before we are doomed to repeat it. So, whether you believe Atlantis was real or not, what it stands for is undeniable: wisdom, and the eternal struggle between our power to create and our tendency to destroy. Maybe that's why the mystery never dies. It's not just a lost city, it's a lost lesson, one the world keeps rediscovering again and again. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the meaning of Atlantis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.